Welcome to the Bold Women Podcast.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? Come on in the room. We've got stuff to discuss. My name is Meryl Wilson, and I am here with my friend Maria.
Hello.
And we have a special guest today.
One of our favorites.
Senor Byron Dyess.
What is up, my
Let's
bold
go.
women?
Byron is a host of a fantastic conspiracy exploration podcast called Let's Get to the Bottom of That.
Yeah, that's right.
Where they get to the bottom
Of that.
of that.
Yeah. And what is that? Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you know, then this means that today's episode
Drum roll, please.
is on some more strange stories from the Bible.
We love to have Byron on the Strange Stories
Yes.
episodes.
Yeah.
I think it's
We've
just
done
right
two.
up your
This is
alley.
probably a part 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're on part 3.
Part
Wow.
3.
Yeah,
That's
more
a
to
lot.
come.
Yeah.
Mordecai.
More to come.
Oh,
Guys,
that's a story
literally,
right
Mordecai is his own story.
it is.
Yeah.
The Bible isn't boring.
It's not.
Like, if
as
you
it
get
turns
into
out.
it, you're like, I don't know how many times I've read, I'm like, thank God I'm alive
It's
right now.
brutal.
Like,
Yeah.
we think it's bad now. I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah. There's some wild stuff going on in there.
Jeez.
Hey, let's boil the kids and have them for lunch.
Great. Yikes. I mean, that's in there, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the last. I think it was last part 2. I think
Yeah.
I mentioned
Let's
that.
disrespect a prophet.
Yeah, yeah.
How about that?
Right.
And the bears come and just eat you. It's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, Baldy. Wasn't that what it was? They called him?
Go
And he
up,
was
all
like,
good.
get him.
Yikes.
Anywho,
What are we talking about today? Wait,
Well-
wait, first.
there's social media.
Yeah.
And
So
you
there
guys
is.
should follow us on it. We're on Instagram, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. There is iTunes podcast and
iTunes podcast.
It's
Yeah.
Apple Podcast.
Oh, well, I
iTunes is 1992.
Well,
yeah, that's
so-
whoa. She just aged herself.
Yeah, it's Apple Podcast.
I did just have a birthday.
It is Apple Podcasts.
And
Maria.
people that are subscribers to that subscribe to Apple Music.
Yeah.
So
It did change, didn't it?
It
did.
sure
As
did.
soon as I said that, I was like, that's not right.
hold on,
Many
let me show you
moons
my
ago.
iPod.
Many
It's in
moons
the car.
ago.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anywho, on
Well-
the positive note, you guys can leave comments on our Spotify and we can
Right.
respond to it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. You can leave reviews on Apple Podcasts. Too,
That's
if you
right.
feel
Reviews
so
and
inclined.
5-star, and give us a 5-star.
Yeah.
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 Also on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And
Do us a
hey,
solid.
because we can do poll questions too. So
Yeah.
you might as well come up with something.
I thought you said we can do bold questions
We can,
too. I
that
was like,
too. That is a-
whoa. I see
you
what
should
you did there.
should think about while we're doing these strange stories, a poll question for
Yeah.
the listeners, and then I'll put it up there.
Ooh.
Lord.
All right.
All right.
But today, guys, more strange stories to come. A good chunk of our episode today is going to be over one specific story that has lots of strange things happening in it.
Very popular story.
Very popular.
And I'd like to add the benefit of historically factual.
Accurate.
Because these are in the history books of history books, not just scripture.
And there have been multiple movies made off of this scenario.
Multiple, yeah.
I'd
Multiple
I'd
movies.
like to see another one.
Oh, with like our modern day technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about just the strides
This
they've
was
made
in
in
The
like
Mummy.
CGI. I
We're
know,
about
but
to talk about.
Was it?
Yeah, they're with Brendan Fraser, the
Yeah.
original.
Oh.
yes.
I keep thinking of the one that was made for TV that comes out at Easter all the time.
What?
The 10 Commandments.
The that
The
one
Mummy.
too.
That
yeah.
movie. And
Family
then-
member of mine was in that.
What?
Charlton Heston.
That's your family member?
Yeah. My grandma's side.
What?
Yep.
Okay,
Love
famous.
that guy. Such a great actor.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like my grandma's like second cousin or something.
Did you ever meet him?
No, he was dead by the time I came around.
That's
You're kidding
bloodline,
me.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Wow, when did he die?
I don't know.
I always think these
I knew there
these
was greatness
great
in you.
actors are they're still
That's
around.
why I'm so animated.
I gotta look that up.
There's also the Prince of Egypt,
Yep.
which the cartoon when the
Well,
sea.
I just want to see something cool, okay? I want to see this come to life.
I think it could be drastically done well now.
It could be such a cool movie if like Mel Gibson did it.
Yeah.
Or M. Night Shyamalan did it. I don't know.
Or if Denzel could be Moses.
Oh, wow. 2008. Okay.
2008.
Oh,
Oh, wait. I was alive then, but I didn't know him. No. Did not know.
Guys, what if Denzel was Moses?
Good looking guy.
I
Yeah.
can see that.
I think he could play that well. Like just his voice and his like demeanor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Denzel being Moses?
Yeah.
Well, she's in there.
Are you? No?
I don't know. I think the attitude would maybe be more like Samuel L. Jackson.
Really?
Wow, that's hard.
That's a
Right
big,
there.
bold move.
Samuel L. is
Do you think Moses was like that?
a B.A.
You think Moses was like that?
Yeah.
Huh.
You got mad and he struck the rock twice. He was
That's
so mad at
interesting.
everybody. You know? Think about
Maybe
it.
that
That's
could be our poll
interesting.
question. Who should play Moses? Samuel L.
There it is.
or
Poll question. Who do you think would play Moses better, Samuel L. Jackson or Denzel
Denzel.
Washington?
Okay, it's up there.
got
There
it.
it is.
All right. In case you guys are wondering, we were talking about the plagues of Egypt before we get into our topic today. There. All right.
Okay. We're pulling a lot of this from gotquestions.org.
Thank
But-
you. Got questions.org. We see you.
Maria,
So
take it away.
Are we going?
All right,
are
so-
we going through the order that they arrived?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should.
All right. So the plagues were 10 disasters sent upon Egypt by God to convince Pharaoh to free the Israelite slaves from the bondage and oppression that they had endured in Egypt for over 400 years. When God sent Moses to deliver the children of Israel from bondage in Egypt, he promised to show his wonders as confirmations of Moses' authority. That comes from Exodus 3:20. So a lot of this takes place in Exodus and Numbers if you're looking as far as places to read it. This confirmation was to serve at least two purposes. One, to show that the Israelites, one, to show the Israelites that the God of their fathers was alive and worthy of their
We
worship.
got it.
Okay.
And then the other was to show the Egyptians that their gods were nothing.
Nothing.
Inferior.
Diddly
Inferior.
squat.
Thumbs down. And that comes from Exodus 6 through 8 and 12, 25 through 27,
Yeah.
7, 5, 12, 12, and Numbers 33, 4. Anyway, so the first plague, Byron,
Gosh,
do you
I
want to tell
almost
us what?
Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, you.
I'm stuck on the Moses character.
Oh no.
Oh,
You got somebody else?
Don't come for me about side trails and circling back.
Who in my mind should play Moses?
Okay, if we're then I think we
Maybe
need to-
not Samuel L. We might have to pick a third option. Hold on. I'll think
Let's
of
pick
something.
somebody younger.
Also, I feel like
'Cause
along
These
this,
guys are old.
That's true.
But Moses
was
would have been
freaking
older.
old.
Well, let's go through his life though.
That's
I
true.
mean, he was old when he came out
Sure.
of the womb.
He was.
well, not then.
He was a baby. Let's go through his life in the movie. Let's
yeah.
do a series. How about that instead of a movie? You know what I'm saying? Everybody does
Mm.
episodes now.
That's true.
Like when he was in the Nile.
Who would be the
his
Pharaoh?
Mom threw him in the.
I feel like that's the other big question. The two main players. Who
It
would
has
be
to be somebody
Moses
that like plays a good jerk.
and who would be Pharaoh?
I got it. Walter White from Breaking Bad.
For Pharaoh?
Yeah.
Do you know
Do
how
we-
mad everyone would be about a white
You
guy?
think? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
you're
would probably
right.
need to
Egyptian. Yeah, gotcha.
Have some descent.
Yeah, because everybody got mad about.
Oh, I have an idea.
Everybody got mad about the queen of whatever.
Guys, I have an idea.
Oh, Cleopatra?
Yes, everybody got mad about.
Yeah.
What if we
What do you
had?
got?
So I'm a big fan of Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger.
Okay.
So what if we take?
what if that's Moses?
No, I was thinking like more that Pharaoh side, like that
Okay.
Killmonger style. Like think about how Killmonger was in Black Panther. I
Yeah.
feel like that's very Pharaoh-esque. And
I
we
think
like
I think
have
he'd make a
him.
great Moses too.
Maybe.
He could be. But he played that villain really well.
Yeah, he did.
Just whatever that's worth. Because you hated him, but then
What about
like you
Jonathan
also
Majors?
understood. Jonathan Majors?
Yeah.
Do I know who that is?
He's had some domestic disputes in court, so I don't know. Maybe that's good though for Moses.
Maybe Lawrence Fishburne could be a good Moses.
He's matter of fact, he's in a movie about to come out of the theaters.
he was in The
it's another
Matrix.
sci-fi space movie.
Okay.
Wow, we're all over the place.
We are all over the place.
Strange stories from the Bible.
Lawrence Fishburne could be a good.
We'll be right back.
Could be Dees.
Are you talking about as Pharaoh?
I think he would be.
No,
He
as
would be.
Moses.
Or would he be a good Aaron?
Or Don Cheadle could be a good Moses.
Don Cheadle.
I like Don
I
Cheadle.
think he's too skinny.
You
You need somebody
Guys.
thick up there.
Oh,
Why?
I have the answer.
Well, because he's eating high on the hog. He was raised by Egyptians. You know what I'm saying?
Chadwick Boseman probably would have been the best.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Oh,
Honestly.
he
Rest
would
in
have been
peace.
the best.
Yes, he honestly probably would have been great.
He's up there with Cooter.
With Cooter and,
and
Frisbee.
Frisbee.
Cooter and Frisbee.
So
Listen to our latest season catch up. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was really funny.
do you want to go into the first plague?
Well,
Yes,
I
you
just
gotta
have real quick though. I have who
Okay.
we could be Moses.
Okay, go.
Vin Diesel. Think of him, Dom, Fast and the Furious. That
This-
kind of character.
No.
Yes.
No.
Wow. Well, let's think about who has played Moses.
Charlton
Heston.
Yeah.
Is that it?
And then a cartoon.
Is that the only live action we have? Come on, guys, we got
I'm
to
trying to
update
think
this.
of like really good foreign
Hollywood.
actors. Like, I'm trying to think of good ones.
Jason Statham. How about that?
No, he's white. Everyone get mad about it.
Let's get mad. Why?
Okay.
Because I want to have something to get mad about.
I'm doing a Google of who has all played Moses. And
Oh wow. While you're looking that up, I'm going over the first plague.
okay, I have a list.
You do
Yeah.
the list of people that's played Moses?
What about, okay, hear me out. Ooh, okay, I know these guys are
Yeah. Oh, this one. I forgot about this one. Go ahead.
Who?
of Latino descent.
And
Okay, that could work.
Okay, hold on. What about Ben Kingsley for Moses?
Yeah.
let me see a picture.
Well, is he too old?
Not at this time.
if we're talking
Ben
plague time,
Kingsley. Yes. That looks more like Pharaoh.
He looks more like Pharaoh.
He could be more like Pharaoh. Okay, what
I
about
think
Oscar Isaac or Antonio Banderas? I know they're Latino,
Okay.
but
Oh yeah.
either
yeah.
of those two.
Yes. As Moses.
As
100%.
Moses.
Oscar. Yeah, Oscar Isaac. I
Oscar
could see
Isaac.
him be a good.
100%.
Okay, let's say.
I don't know. I'm still gonna stick with Vin.
Okay, now we've changed the poll question. Is it
No, I'm just kidding. I still kind of want to see
Denzel.
Denzel.
Oscar Isaac or Denzel Washington? There it is, the final poll question.
What about Vin?
No,
I'll
peace
put-
out.
Look,
All
I'll
right.
give 4 options.
Okay.
Okay. But for anyone else who cares, Christian Bale was an Exodus god and king, and he played Moses in that movie.
Interesting.
And
I've
then
never
Charles
What was it called?
Heston. Exodus
Exodus?
Gods and Kings came out in 2014.
I wonder, wasn't
I've
it
never
any
seen
good?
it. I don't know. I've never
I've
seen
never
it.
seen. Christian
Huh.
Bale's a good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like him.
Everything keeps referring back to Charlton Heston, so I don't think there's a ton
Let's
of
get
people.
to the plagues.
Well,
All right.
the first plague was, of course, turning the Nile, which the Nile
Yes.
is, it's not denial. I didn't deny anything, but it's a river called Nile,
Ooh.
which ran
The
right
Nile.
smack in the middle of
El Rio
Yeah,
Nile.
the Egyptians. The entire river was turned to blood.
Ooh.
Now, this was a judgment against Apis.
All right.
I gotta go take a piss. Which was
That got me.
Which was the god of the Nile. Well, that's what it
Okay.
says. Isis was the god of the Nile,
Goddess.
and Khnum. Yeah, that's what I meant. And Khnum was the guardian of the Nile.
Okay. All
Now,
three
by
of
the
them.
way, I used to watch when I was a kid. I used to watch Shazam and Isis. It was a live action on Saturday mornings.
Was
Yeah,
it?
you just
Yeah.
aged your own self there.
Well, I don't give a rip. I mean,
he
I'm-
doesn't give two figs.
He
I'm-
doesn't. He
I'm
said.
85 years old.
Not a rip given.
He said, "I'm getting to the bottom of this."
The Nile was also believed to be the bloodstream of Osiris.
Uh-oh.
Now, there's a guy right there, Osiris. He was always in the books. Who was reborn each year when the river flooded. The river, which formed the basis of daily life and the national economy, was completely devastated as millions of fish died in the river. The water was completely unusable.
Oh, yeah.
And Pharaoh was told, quote, "By this you will know that I am the Lord."
Think about the smell of that.
Oh, gosh. I can't even.
I don't want to.
Oh, like just even the smell. Like, and I was just picturing, you know, like when
blood.
you see, what is it? Like IV bags for blood transfusions. Like that's even gross in and of itself. Like a whole river of blood.
Yeah, and just think about it. You don't realize how devastating, because this is where they got this is their water source.
Right.
Yeah.
Water,
What
fish,
did they do?
transportation.
That they created the modern irrigation system. Like, they created the first irrigation system, not the modern.
Which made
but
it
the first.
from the Nile, and it ran to
From the Nile.
deep in the desert.
Yep. And so, yeah, that was super devastating. Something that's interesting. Okay, so the significance of that. So this is also what we're going to do here too, is like kind of go over like our thoughts, but also explain what the plagues are. And then I did some research on like the significance of them. And this one, like turning the Nile to blood, said that it demonstrates God's sovereignty over Egyptian gods. In particular, Happy or
I'll go happy.
Happy,
Who's now
Hapi,
sad.
who's now sad, the god who caused the Nile to flood. And my comment to that is, okay, we got Apis, Apis,
I got Apis and happy.
Happy, Isis, Osiris,
And Khnum. I mean, we've got all these people.
So
What a
many-
conundrum.
Yeah, what a conundrum is that they're doing happy and Apis.
Yeah, and I kept thinking, like, as this list goes on, you'll see, I mean, just with this one instance, how many gods were involved here. And it's like, gosh, how difficult would that be to just try and keep all that straight?
Yeah.
You know?
Thank God for just one.
Yeah. Why? That's also something that's interesting to me, is like people that chose to worship multiple gods, when it's like, dude, or just simplify your life and worship the one that created everything.
Yeah, because they would, like, for instance, this guy, when the river flooded every year. Oh, he's reborn. We got to keep up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or
Like
if
they
you're
had a
getting
god
a
for
drought.
everything.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
fear.
a god for cats.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or you're
The
making this
sun.
god mad, or this god's not.
There's a god for the moon. Yeah, everything.
Yeah. Just keep going.
Except the King Jehovah, which made everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Just above it
He's
all.
like, hey, by the way.
By the way, all those gods mean nothing.
Yeah.
Why?
Watch this.
Because your river's blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Second plague. This also came from the Nile, but it was bringing frogs from the Nile. This was a judgment against Heket, the frog-headed goddess of birth. Frogs were thought to be sacred and not to be killed. God had the frogs invade every part of homes of the Egyptians, and when the frogs died, their stinking bodies were heaped up in offensive piles all through the land. Exodus
Sick.
8:13 through 14. Think about piles of frogs. Like
They
the fact that
smell
you could
when they're
have.
alive. Because
Yeah.
they hang out in mud and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And so think about what they excrete too, because like they excrete stuff.
Yeah, they'll urinate on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking that many frogs to make piles.
Why do you think they died, though? Was there an
Probably
expiration?
I would guess for the smell.
Maybe
like
the
it's
lack of
Do
water.
you think there was an expiration?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How was this overlap? That's a good question.
I don't know.
Did these plagues overlap? Like, was there
I don't
still
know.
blood going on?
Well, this the blood took place in Exodus 7:17, and this took place in Exodus 8. So I don't.
oh,
we
yeah,
don't.
just another chapter. It's like
We don't
24
know
hours.
we don't know the difference in
just
time on
kidding.
that.
We don't,
We
but
don't know.
something that was interesting was like, okay, so the significance of this, the judgment was against Heket, as we said, the Egyptian goddess of birth. Frogs were a symbol of life and fertility and thought to be sacred and not to be killed, as you said. Another theory was to display the insignificance of Egyptian gods that were being worshipped. So it was basically like, if our gods can't control frogs, what can they control? So it's like they're just taking over the city, and if there's a goddess over the frogs, then why isn't she able to keep them from invading the city and every aspect of people's homes? And then I found that it took 3 days for them to clear the land of dead frogs, and that it still smelled for a long time after that.
Well, this kind of just hit me as you were reading that, where they were thought to be sacred and not be killed. So I think maybe even in their death, it was that like, hey, these aren't what you think. Like
Yeah.
they're all gonna die. Like so you
They
don't
all
want to you
rot
don't
and
want them to
decay.
kill. You don't want them to be killed. All right, they can all die. Like
Yeah.
I think just kind of that.
Yeah. That's
Do
true.
you think some of them thought, "Hey, Haket's mad at us,"
Probably.
Yeah.
and didn't equate this to at all with King Jehovah putting a plague on them?
Well, I'm sure probably some of that was dependent upon their proximity to Pharaoh. Like if
Yeah.
you were out in the outskirts, I'm sure you wouldn't necessarily know what's going on yet until we keep going into the story where they could see that the Israelites weren't touched by anything.
Oh yeah, Goshen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
What's next?
the
Just gets worse.
Number
Yeah.
3.
yeah.
Go
Oh,
on.
I thought you were going with it.
I'm reading the significance.
I thought Byron was
so you're
reading
not
number
doing
3.
a 1, 2, 3.
No, I'm
No,
doing the
you and I
Okay,
significance.
so you want?
I thought you were doing 3.
Oh, I thought we were going around the table.
We
Oh.
discussed this before.
Did we?
Yeah,
Well, no, I
we
thought we
did.
were. I thought you were
was like,
just going to
you
do
two
significance.
Are doing this, and then Meryl's bringing up significance.
I was reading text. I went.
Okay.
Anyway, the third number 3.
Yeah.
Gnats, or back from my hometown, Gnats.
Gnats. He's from Alabama.
Yeah,
Or you
from,
say
from
gnat,
Alabama.
gnat.
Gnats, get off my face. This was a judgment on Set, the god of the desert. Unlike the previous plagues, the magicians were unable to duplicate this one and declared to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God."
Okay, so
That's an
up
Exodus
until this
8.
point, the magicians
understand
were
that.
weirdly able to
Why are they what?
replicate
That's
these.
weird.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's
Was that
goes
in
to where-
scripture? They were able to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it kind of goes to show too is like the enemy's an angel of light. Go ahead.
Mm.
Yeah, he can present things. But
So they couldn't do the gnats.
Couldn't do the gnats.
couldn't
Tell
do
us
the
why.
gnats for some reason.
What's the significance of this, Meryl?
Well, the judgment against the Egyptian god Set. This was also not only were they not able to replicate this, but it was sent without warning. So God like warned Pharaoh, like, if you don't listen to me, if you don't let these people go, I'm going to send something else. And so basically, but this one he did not. He was just like,
No
Gotcha.
warning.
boom, there you
Gotcha.
are. So
I can't imagine
It's-
this one.
yeah, it said it was sent without warning, which may be a sign of God's reprisal against Pharaoh for lying to him at the end of the second plague. And I looked that up, and it said Pharaoh had begged Moses to plead with God to take away the frogs, and he will let the Israelites go and sacrifice to the Lord. And so when that happened, he did not let them go, and he did not
Yeah.
go and sacrifice to the
He
Lord.
did not keep up his end of the deal.
So God was like, why do I need to warn you then?
Joke's on you.
Good
Here.
one.
Yeah.
All right. The fourth plague, flies. So I don't know what'd be worse, gnats or flies.
These two kind of go
These
hand
are
in
Pretty
hand.
Yeah.
disgusting. Yeah. I don't know. The gnats are smaller and can get
Yeah,
in
they
weird
get in your
places.
nose.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Ugh.
This was a
your
judgment.
eye.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So the flies were a judgment on you touch it?
I'd go.
You touched
I'd
it?
go Yatchit.
Yatch it? The fly god.
It's spelled UATCHIT. So you guys figure it out.
Yatchit.
Yatch it.
I like
I
that.
don't.
All right.
Yeah, chit. The fly god.
Yatch it, get over here.
We shouldn't be laughing, but we should.
You got a hatchet?
I mean,
All right.
Oh, hatchet. You need a hatchet? Call hatchet.
Call Yatch it. He has a business.
yeah.
All right. Anyways, he was the,
The
fly
fly
god.
god.
In this plague, God clearly distinguishes between the Israelites and the Egyptians. No swarms of flies bothered the areas where the Israelites lived.
Goshen.
Do you know how
That's the
interesting
name of the
that would be
place.
to be Pharaoh and like looking over your kingdom and you just see clouds of what are flies, but then like just pockets of nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
You're
Like
"Wait
an
a-
invisible border.
I'd be
Yeah.
like, I want to get there.
Like what the heck? Okay, so
I
the
wonder if
significant-
anybody went there to go, hey, I want to go. You know
wonder
what
if they
I'm saying?
couldn't.
He
I
probably
wonder.
did. He probably had people.
I wonder if they're like normal people.
Well, they probably would have had to see that that's not what
there
was
were
going on there.
reports of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure he had his cronies out there observing, seeing what was happening to the Israelites. Because I
Mhm.
bet Pharaoh was concerned about that. Like, oh, is this happening to them too?
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so the significance of that
Yeah, what is it?
demonstrates God's power over the sun god Re, who was depicted as a fly. Also, it shows God's distinction between the Israelites and the Egyptians, as flies only appeared in areas where the Egyptians lived. and not in Goshen where the Israelites lived. So these were the biting type of
Oh.
flies.
Yeah.
The tsetse fly?
The tsetse flies.
So that
That's what
made
I'm
it
talking about.
So that made it impossible for Egyptians to work
Those-
or sleep.
hurt.
Didn't you tell me you had an episode with the tsetse fly?
When I was in Tanzania, we went on our safari. That's what the kind of flies that they had, and you had to wear like
And
denim
Are
and
those the
lace.
ones that like burrow?
And they would
They-
bite?
They bite. They can bite through denim even.
Come
They have
on.
like long. They have long mouths.
No,
I would
too,
say
that
these are
can go
tsetse
through.
flies.
I would guess
probably.
they were. One still probably to be if you look at the area, and that's one of the things they said too. Like you ever watch, like nature channels and you see like animals literally like whipping their tails. That's why, and
Yeah.
they hurt, and you'd be covered in them. It was sick.
In
But-
Tanzania?
Yeah, like when you'd be
Ew.
out in the safari out by the animals,
You're covered?
you would get them all
I
over
don't
you.
want to be there.
How long were you there?
What is going
in
on?
Tanzania,
Yeah.
6 weeks.
6 weeks too long.
But they were only by the animals, like out in the.
Oh, so you could
like,
get places where you okay.
Yeah, I was in Kigoma for a few days, and then I was in. I was in Kigoma for most of the time. And I was in Dar es Salaam for a couple days,
I don't
Nice.
even
and
know
then
that.
so Dar es Salaam was like the capital, and then
Gotcha.
so I was in like eastern Tanzania and then western Tanzania, which would be.
What were you doing there?
I was there. We had some friends who. Is this?
Oh, is
taking
this
us off
personal?
of- huh?
No, I was just laughing because it was like she was just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
I'm like, what's
What's going on? No, so I was
Doing
there for
the
a couple,
Lord's work.
couple
were
reasons.
you doing the work?
Well, we went. Well, there was a group of us in college, and one of my friends, her sibling-in-laws, so her brother's wife's parents, lived there, and they
Brothers-in-laws.
brothers-in-laws, yeah, and they had a school. They were working with the school, and
Okay.
so we went to kind of go help do stuff with their school and just preach the gospel too.
Nice.
And so
okay.
I mean, we went from hospitals to we did camps, built schools, help feed kids, did lots of different things. So
That's
it was
cool.
the city I was in was very
What year
Muslim
was this?
Christian, and so it was a very very interesting thing. I would wake
Muslim
up.
Christian.
Yeah, I would wake up to the mosque every morning, like the
Interesting
mosque calls. Very. Mhm.
My brother, when he was deployed in
Yeah.
Afghanistan, said
Yes.
that was like one of the creepiest things.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
I
just
was in
hearing-
Kuwait when I was in
hearing
Kuwait. That's you'd
Yeah.
hear that and you're like, what's
It's
going
just a
on?
haunting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah, and
exact-
it's just
yeah.
and then everybody runs to the mosque. You see them throwing their
Yeah.
shoes off.
Mhm.
yeah, it's
It's
weird.
very interesting.
Did you say
Uh,
Muslim Christian?
Yeah, it was like a Muslim
What is
Christian
that?
city.
Oh,
What a
So it's like
dichotomy.
the dichotomy of the city was very interesting. So,
so
anyways,
what
I
year
was-
was that? I'm sorry, I'm very curious about
oh
this.
gosh, it was too.
It has something to do with these.
Does it?
plagues.
It was
These flies.
these flies.
my goodness.
I was there 2000. Was it 5?
Was it eye opening? Like coming from where you lived in these? Was
Oh.
it like, wow, this is way different?
Yeah,
Just on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very very different.
Right off the coast of Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think too, like especially at that time, and I don't even know now, like Americans were not like loved by any means. So that was we had to be very careful where we went, just from being from America.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah,
Well, yeah, and you're
there's
post 9/11 there too.
post
so.
9/11, and then so we learned enough Swahili to get by if we got lost, and like we had to learn enough to like over there, and then it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
I loved it though.
That's
I'd go
awesome.
back in a heartbeat. I'd go back in a heartbeat. Beautiful, most beautiful people. All right,
Well,
but the tsetse flies were awful. I will say
that's-
that.
Yeah, well, that's
And that's
the
what was
thing.
That's
bothering
what was
these
bothering
people. Can
these
you
people.
imagine being an Egyptian person and like we're now on that's the fourth one.
Yeah. Yeah, by
At
this
this
time
point,
I'm
you're
like,
like just getting bit by flies and you
All the
can't
time.
even sleep. You're
yeah,
short
you just
of
remember the
sleep.
gnats, you remember the blood. It's like,
And these
can
are
you,
plagues.
No
These are-
water.
Can you let
no
these
food.
people go, please?
It stinks. You're getting eaten alive.
Yeah,
My
Yeah.
gosh.
I think he's going to be reelected.
'Kay.
but
next
there's
year.
more.
Gets
Number
worse.
5 is the death of livestock.
Okay.
Now, this was a
Take it away.
judgment on the goddess Hathor,
Okay.
not Hathor from Odin's son.
Hey Thor.
Hathor. And the god of Apis. Again, Apis is in here.
Apis is back.
Who were both depicted as cattle.
Okay.
All right, come on, Apis. Can you get it straight? Just pick one. Is
Yeah.
it the water or is it the cattle? Come on.
Both.
As with the previous plague, God protected his people from the plague while the cattle of the Egyptians died. God was steadily destroying the economy of Egypt while showing his ability to protect and provide those who obeyed him.
Nice.
Pharaoh even sent investigators.
Boom, that's what Meryl
That's
thought.
what you said, Exodus 9:7, to find out if the
Oh,
Israelites
yeah.
were suffering alongside the Egyptians. But the result was a hardening of his heart against the Israelites.
Well, there it is.
So he
Okay.
did send out
He
investigators.
did, yeah.
Okay, the significance of that, obviously, cattle, livestock, vital source of food, transportation, military supplies, farming, economic goods for the Egyptians, and caused a huge economic disaster for
Wow.
them, as it said. This was God's judgment on the god Hathor and Apis, which Hathor is like the cow goddess, and Apis is depicted as a bull. And God... Yeah, that's just, I mean, that basically was just repeating what happened. That was
Sheesh.
no real significance. You guys already covered it.
Right. The sixth plague, boils. This was a judgment against several gods over health and disease. Sekhmet, Sunu, and guess who's back? Isis. This time, the Bible says that the magicians could also not stand before Moses because of the boils. So clearly, these religious leaders were powerless against the God of Israel.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about
This is the first one that actually physically
like touch
hit them.
people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like where
It was like, oh, your environment. You know, something else that I was thinking about that's just occurring to me is like, if you are in ancient Egypt, you don't know about God because all you know is
All these
worshiping
other
multiple
people.
gods or
Yeah.
whatever.
and worshiping Pharaoh. Pharaoh thought he was a god, like
And
a
it
deity.
maybe, yeah, it's like you can see all these things happening and you can just be like, wow, that's weird, you know? And then, but then it doesn't become real until it like affects you.
Right.
You know how they say a lot of times it's like, in businesses or whatever, it's
Mhm.
like you don't, or it's like you start messing with people's money and then people start getting concerned.
Right.
Well, this is also, I think,
Yeah.
kind of like the same thing. It's like now people are being physically impacted by this because a lot of everything else has just
Everything
been
else was like,
environmental
oh, the
so far.
frog. Okay, we're not doing so
Yeah.
well. The gnats are coming in.
It's been
this
environmental.
is
Our cows
annoying.
are dying.
This
Oh,
is-
wait, my skin's coming off.
Yeah,
and I'm
so-
hurting, and it's like
Do you have some antiseptic?
I'm oozing out of my
Oh,
nose.
wait, I can't. The
Ew.
Nile's
That's
full
what
of
they
blood.
do.
Yeah, these boils were infectious. They caused inflammation, discomfort, and eventually
Eesh.
formed ulcers. Bad
Okay.
news. Bible says that the dust from kilns caused the boils, making it the first medical report on harmful effects of soot on the skin, which is interesting. God didn't warn Pharaoh about this one either, and it hardened his heart toward God and the Israelites as a result. This displayed
Oh.
the powerlessness of Egyptian magicians who represented Egyptian religion and wisdom, and they couldn't even stand before Moses because of that, because they just couldn't.
It makes me think of Job too when he talks about like wanting to
does?
just claw through his skin
Ugh.
because of like his boils are so bad. Ugh. Okay,
So it didn't get warned. Magicians couldn't do anything.
and then just
Oh, Janice and John Breeze.
Oh, yeah. Go on.
Those guys.
Okay, so before there's 3 more plagues, and before the last 3, Pharaoh was given a special message from God. These plagues would be more severe than the others, and they were designed to convince Pharaoh and all the people that there is none like me in all the earth. That comes from Exodus 9:14. So Pharaoh was even told that he was placed in his position by God so God could show his power and declare his name through all the earth.
Just not the way Pharaoh thought.
Right.
Wow.
A remix. As an example of his grace, God warned Pharaoh to gather whatever cattle and crops remained from the previous plagues and shelter them from the coming storm. Some of Pharaoh's servants heeded the warning. Smart. Exodus 9:20, while others did not. The 7th plague, hail, attacked Nut, the sky goddess. Osiris, the
Is
crop.
it nut or newt?
Oh,
I'm going to go with Nut.
I'm gonna go with Nut.
Yeah.
The sky goddess, or Cyrus, the crop fertility god, and Set, the storm god. This hail was unlike any that had been seen before, and it was accompanied by a fire which ran along
What?
the ground, and everything left out in the open was devastated by the hail and fire. Again, all the children of Israel were miraculously protected, and no hail damaged anything. Can you imagine? That's... And I think the thing too is like it shows the mercy of God. Like, hey, you're still hardening your heart and doing all this. I'm still gonna warn you. Hey, put everything that's left in. Like he's God's character compared to Pharaoh's.
Was this a direct message or was this through Moses when it says that he was?
I don't know.
I would
it says
say
a
he
special
slid
message.
right into the DMs
I
of
would say it
Pharaoh
would
and was
be
like,
direct.
hello.
Is that way? Okay, so I've never.
Because it doesn't
I
say like
didn't realize
Moses
that.
said to him.
Yeah.
So Pharaoh's got some direct connection.
I think God's going to make himself known.
This guy's an idiot. Dude, Jehovah talked to you.
I
Another
think-
poll
About-
question.
Well,
I
but
mean,
I
what-
think there's a side
What are you
where
doing? I'll
Pharaohs
guarantee
think that they
he's
were
never
deity.
spoke to Isis.
I think
or
there's a piece
Hip-Tap.
where
Osiris.
Osiris.
Isis, Osiris.
Maybe he talked to Nut.
Yeah, he never talked to Nut. I mean, none of these guys
But,
talked to
like,
him except King Jehovah.
I really do think that there's this element where pharaohs thought that they were deity. So I'm sure he was not listening to, I'm sure he was listening to demonic influences. So to hear a voice like that, he probably just thought, oh, I'm a god to a god, not necessarily like putting who it was.
Yeah, that's true.
Like talking to him because he
not the
thought
proper
he was,
authority.
yeah, like he thought he was on that level. So he's going to, okay,
Not
like
the
I'm a
proper
god too.
reverence was had.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was fire that ran along the ground with the hail. What
Yeah.
are you talking about right now? Running along the ground? What's going on?
I don't know.
Just
Oh.
like a stream of fire?
What a scene.
I mean,
I'd be like,
This is why a
place is
movie. This is
devastating.
why a movie today needs to be made.
see,
because
this is why this needs to be episodes.
Yes.
This should be a series because you need to take time and flush all of this out.
Netflix. Come on.
Come
Come
on,
on.
Netflix.
Come on with it.
We
You got a
will write it
10
for you.
episode series.
Oh yeah, each plague.
or maybe we go 11 because then we
Whoa.
show them
You
getting
could
out.
do actually like 12 because you do the build up of it.
Yeah, you could.
And then them getting out.
Yeah.
12, 13.
12 or 13.
Miniseries.
What should we call it? Plagues?
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Or just call it 10.
Oh, I like that.
The 10.
The 10.
Okay, we'll go on to
All
the
right.
next paragraph.
So before God brought on the next plague, he told Moses that the Israelites would be able to tell their children of the things God had seen, or that they had seen God do in Egypt and how
Right.
it showed them God's power. The 8th plague were locusts, again focused on Nut, Osiris, and Set.
See what I'm saying?
The later crops, wheat and rye, which survived the hail, were now devoured by swarms of locusts. There would be no harvest in Egypt that year. So Nile was taking out any fishing crops, now all their land crops, all the
Cattle.
livestock. So
yeah, locusts can have a
Number
significant
8.
impact on food security and livelihoods for millions, obviously. A small swarm can consume, this is what I thought that was interesting. A small swarm can consume the same amount of crops in one day as it would take 35,000 people
Holy
to consume in a day.
how?
Think about that.
Whoa.
And I don't even know, it didn't even give me a metric of like what equates to a small swarm.
And this wasn't a small swarm.
This was
This
not.
was a plague.
This was like blacked out locusts everywhere.
Yeah, the sun's covered.
Yeah. The meaning is one of devastation and decreation and thought to provoke the Egyptians to acknowledge their weakness, frailty, and dependence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, number 9, darkness. This was aimed at the sun god Ra. Which I don't know why we have.
It was gone by 2 names, so it was either Ra
So,
or Ray.
I've heard of Ra, and of course I got that from the Mummy.
Yeah.
So
It's interchangeable. I looked it up. It was like it's interchangeable.
this was symbolized by Pharaoh himself. For 3 days, the land of Egypt was smothered with an unearthly darkness, but the homes of the Israelites had light. So you got this shaft of light just beaming down. Hey, what's that light over
Everyone's
there?
got cozy lamps and fires
Right.
going in their homes, and
Yeah.
Israelites. I just picture
Everyone
him like
else is
trying to
like-
light matches in it, like go and just out.
This lasted
like
3
just
days.
nothing starting.
3 whole days.
Unearthly darkness.
Yeah.
And imagine the
So
terror
what-
of like if the sun didn't come up, imagine what would happen in the earth
You
right
think
now.
the sun was just covered?
Yeah, I think it was a
It was blocked.
What
or maybe it
blocked by?
was maybe it was just like
Think
a,
that- what if it was an eclipse?
Maybe the hand of God.
I don't think maybe it was like angels coming around over the air that they couldn't see just
Just swoop.
with their wings
Yeah,
up.
who freaking knows?
Because it's like there would have been sun on the rest of the world.
That's true.
Like other people still were living.
What if they weren't?
They were.
They were.
What if they were like, what? Those Egyptians again?
Dang.
My gosh.
Not going
Yeah.
there. All right. And
What's the significance of the
significance.
earthly darkness,
So
Meryl?
this was a warning to a society that doesn't see its fellow citizens and cuts them off from one another. It's
Oh.
associated with God's abandonment. So when he withdraws, only darkness is left.
ooh,
I like that.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's good. Okay, guys, drum roll, please.
Number
The
10.
most
The-
devastating one, I
The
think.
10th, yeah. So this is a 10th and the last plague, and this is the death of firstborn males. This
Okay.
was a judgment on ISIS. That dude's been just
ISIS,
chilling around.
come on, dude.
The protector of children. He was
ISIS
also known
is?
as. Wow.
They
Anyways.
assign a lot of things to these
Okay.
gods.
In this plague, God was teaching the Israelites a deep spiritual lesson that pointed to Christ. Unlike the other plagues, which the Israelites survived by virtue of their identity as God's people, this plague required an act of faith by them. God commanded each family to take an unblemished male lamb and kill it. The blood of the lamb was to be smeared on top and sides of their doorways, and the lamb was to be roasted and eaten at night. Any family that did not follow God's instructions would suffer in the last plague. God described how he would send the destroyer through the land of Egypt with orders to slay the firstborn male in every household, whether human or animal. The only protection was the blood of the lamb on the door. When the destroyer saw the blood, he would pass over that house and leave it untouched. This is where the term Passover comes from. Passover is a memorial of the night in ancient Egypt when God delivered his people from bondage. 1 Corinthians 5:7 teaches that Jesus became our Passover when he died to deliver us from the bondage of sin. While the Israelites found God's protection in their homes, every other home in the land of Egypt experienced God's wrath as their loved ones died. This grievous event called Pharaoh to finally release the Israelites.
Caused him.
Wow.
Oh, caused him.
Okay, something I found interesting from this
Yeah.
was reference to the destroyer. And I was curious to know if this was the same
Oh, yeah.
destroyer of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And if he will be the same destroyer when Jesus comes back.
My assumption. What'd you find? Because my assumption would be
I didn't
yes.
find
Oh.
anything because this is pure just
The destroyer.
assumption-esque. Yeah.
Well, aren't there some translations that call him an angel of death?
I think so.
I think so.
I think I have heard that.
I don't know off the translations off my head, but I feel like I remember hearing that too.
What I wonder is when Jesus comes back, what his job is going to be.
The destroyer?
Yeah. You got nothing left, buddy.
It's a good question.
is he gonna
I know that-
retire?
Or maybe he won't have to.
No,
Maybe he'll
just
rest.
retire. He'll just retire forever.
He'll rest and praise God for forever.
Yeah.
Oh,
What an interesting job
Yeah.
to have.
right.
The destroyer?
Yeah. You're
I bet
just
it's
chilling.
just righteous anger.
You're just chilling, and then God's like,
I got a job for you.
You
"Hey,
ready?
yeah, you ready to go?" And you're like,
Yeah. Well,
cracks knuckles. Yes.
What do you want?
What would you like me to do?
I want you to take all of the firstborn. Except when you see the blood of lambs on a doorpost, you pass over
Pass
that
over it.
house.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's
Like-
one thing. Okay, I
Copy
know.
that.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. Could you
About-
imagine the
you do?
sound?
I bet there was no sound.
Well, I'm saying when people
you-
woke up.
oh, yeah, just
like
wailing.
the next morning.
Oh.
What that would
Just
have
wailing in the night. Yeah. Because think about it.
Yeah.
A lot of times you think of, these are just children. No, the firstborn could have been 21 years old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whoever the firstborn was.
Right.
Could be a grown man with a
Could-
family.
yeah, or a baby.
Mhm.
Yeah, just drop dead.
Yep.
Sheesh.
And the Israelites or the Jewish people celebrate Passover to this day.
Yeah. I think one thing that's really
It's kind of a
interesting.
strange thing to
Right?
celebrate. But at the same time, it's like that is the significance because that's when they were delivered.
Yeah.
I
And
think
I have been to one of those meals.
is it kind of cool?
Yeah.
Like a-
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Oh, what do they call it? Forgot what they call it.
Let me look.
Oh well, great.
I went to
Well, tell us about
a messianic Jewish church where they're
Yeah.
all Christians, but they still celebrated it. I forgot the name of the meal. Come on, it's called seti or something.
It is called
The Seder.
Seder.
The
SEDER.
Seder. Yeah, the Seder. And
Oh, yeah.
you have to go and you literally replicate what they did that night. The lamb, there's this
Oh.
other stuff on your plate. You got to do it in this correct order.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
They keep that alive.
Right.
It's
All
on the
right.
15th and 16th of the month of Nisan
Nissan.
to commence the festival of Passover.
And not the vehicles.
Right.
Only one S.
I wish we'd have kept that calendar. It seems to make more because it goes
It's
by
interesting.
it's the lunar cycle.
Yeah. Well, the significance of that,
What is that?
Yeah.
The firstborn.
it challenges Egypt's sense of security and power, which was tied to the continuation of their lineages through firstborn sons.
Oh.
It also challenges Pharaoh's status as an incarnation of Egypt's greatest god, as well as Egypt's gods in general. So by the time the Israelites left Egypt, they had a clear picture of God's power, his protection, and his plan for them.
That's awesome.
You know what
Yeah.
this tells me as well?
Huh?
Pharaoh had a brother.
Huh?
He didn't die.
Yeah. He didn't get killed.
Oh, yeah.
So he had an older brother or an older sister.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it says firstborn males.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So he had an older
He had
brother.
an older
Yeah, an
brother.
older brother. Or two.
So it
Interesting.
also makes me wonder, how did he get into power if he had an older brother? Because technically, wouldn't
Wait
the
a
death
minute.
of...
He probably had multiple older brothers.
Oh, that's passed down with the family?
Well, I'm just thinking, well, I don't know within Pharaohism or however what it's called. But like typically, isn't
say
like it passed to
Pharaohism?
the oldest son? Isn't normal like royalty passed to the oldest son?
Yeah, normally.
generally.
King Charles. I
So
don't know if
that's
they do it
amazing.
just like a monarch, though. Because, this is weird.
Because I'm thinking, okay, if he had
Generally,
an older
but
brother,
who's to say? Because they worship things differently.
yeah, it's
Oh,
For
and think
one
about how-
thing, but also I think about,
And they put them in so young, too.
yeah,
Kids will get pointed to this position very young.
yeah.
yeah. Because I was just thinking of like,
And
did
they
he
may
do
do
something
that.
shady to get there to
Well,
like his older brothers?
Well, and they may do that. They did that. You're right, because they did that to kids a lot. And I'm trying to think.
Yeah, they would do that in Chinese culture, too.
Uh-huh.
With the emperors.
And I want to say it had more to do with like
Was it a bloodline?
magicians and things like that,
Mm.
casting spells, reading future, stuff like that would tell
Would have
that would
the be-
reveal to them
who it would be.
Oh, here's
should
who's
be.
who. Okay,
it?
gotcha.
So I
Okay.
don't know that necessarily meant bloodline.
Not bloodline, but-
order
Okay.
of birth necessarily.
Because I was like, oh, that could be a whole different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I don't want to be called out as a liar here.
Because, hey, check it out. If he was still alive and he lived with him, he's dead.
Yeah.
His older brother.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How were pharaohs chosen? Okay.
Oh, here we go.
What's it saying?
The next pharaoh, okay, in ancient Egypt, the next pharaoh was usually chosen by the current pharaoh, and the selection process was not always based on primogeniture.
Oh, there we go.
Primogeniture?
A janitor.
Primogeniture.
I would think like first generation.
The pharaoh could choose from any of his sons, regardless of their mother, but the son of his chief consort, the great wife, was often the preferred choice. So whoever her children were. The great wife was a close blood relative of the king, which provided legitimacy to the succession.
It's too much.
However, there are many examples of heirs coming from lesser wives or even between brothers. The pharaoh might also consult with high priests who would advise him on which sons the gods favored. Okay, so I was partially.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
I think you both were partially right.
Right. That's cool.
How did I remember that?
I don't know.
you're Meryl.
Sometimes I weird myself out
I'm
with the
proud.
random tidbits.
Where
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
just pull. Yeah, it's in the filing cabinet. You just pulled it out.
yeah.
In the filing cabinet.
You're like, there it is.
Pharaoh. son.
Pharaoh,
What did I
sons.
don't know where I learned that and just retained it, but okay. So weird.
One thing I think that's really interesting, and Byron, I know you found an article on it. Like as we were talking about the 10, there's like little glimpses where it said, "And God hardened Pharaoh's heart." And I know sometimes that's like a hard thing for believers to kind of like wrap their minds
Yes.
around. And I think that's kind of like this interweaving story where you see Pharaoh's like, yeah, take him, go.
Yeah,
no,
leave.
never mind. Yeah,
Leave.
take him, go. No, never mind. So what are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
I just looked this up on our great friends at GotQuestions.org.
Yeah,
Why
right.
did God harden Pharaoh's heart? And it says in Exodus 7, 3 through 4, but I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and though I will multiply my miraculous signs and wonders in Egypt, he will not listen to you. Then I will lay my hand on Egypt, and with mighty acts of judgment, I will bring out my people, the Israelites. So it seems unjust for God to harden Pharaoh's heart and then punish Pharaoh and Egypt for what Pharaoh decided when his heart was hardened. Why would he harden his heart? So he could just smack him down some more?
Okay.
Well, first, Pharaoh was not innocent. He was not an innocent or godly man. He was a brutal dictator overseeing a terrible, terrible abuse and the oppression of the Israelites, who were likely numbered to like over 1.5 million people at that time.
That's a big group.
So the Egyptian pharaohs had enslaved Israelites for 400 years. A previous pharaoh, possibly even the pharaoh in question, ordered that male Israelites' baby be killed at birth. Remember that?
That's right.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's how Moses got on the scene.
Yep.
That's right.
Because I'm killing people. See, so he's not this this good guy that, I'm gonna let him go.
Yeah.
The pharaoh God hardened was an evil man, and the nation he ruled agreed with or at least did not oppose his evil actions.
So it's arguable that his heart was actually pretty hard in the beginning. Anyway.
To get from the get go.
Yeah.
So he's just an evil dude.
So, I mean, it seems that God and Pharaoh were both active in one way or another in the hardening of Pharaoh's heart. As the plagues continue, God gave Pharaoh increasingly severe warnings of the final judgment to come. Pharaoh chose to bring further judgment on himself and his nation by hardening his own heart against God's command.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
dude was a horrible dictator.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I think, I just walked through the Nelson Atkins and they had like all the Egyptian like burials and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it feels, I don't know, like hearing it is just like, I get so curious sometimes about like Egyptian history because
I'm
I think
curious about a
it's-
lot of stuff going on
Dude.
over there,
yeah,
or
Yeah.
that has gone on over there.
and just,
I mean, the pyramids,
There's
come
still
on.
been no logical explanation of how those things got set up. Like in today's times, like literally, I feel like I haven't heard a theory yet that has like
I have an idea.
satisfied my
Well,
curiosity.
it's obviously the Nephilim.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
Or
but I
They-
mean every like little
or the-
show
or
and
the
thing like that they
Watchers
do, like nothing they
helped,
say.
gave them technology to do that we don't even have today.
I don't even think like
Where's that?
Yeah.
demonic presence and power to like do stuff.
Well, yeah, that
Yeah.
too.
I just mean like every theory that's been like presented by an alleged academic or scholar that
right.
gets on these history shows and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
like, these are all crap. Like, why don't you just acknowledge
We don't know how this happened.
Yeah.
either that or go, it's possible we had some strangely large unearthly beings existing on this planet.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
if we can go so far as to say there were dinosaurs on this planet, why not?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or there was some weird people that could do telekinesis.
Yeah, some
And-
strange. There's such
yeah.
things as like wizards and stuff like that. I don't know why that seems to be such a
Yeah, I
far
mean,
fetched.
we got magicians that were,
Yeah,
Doing stuff,
duplicating
duplicating
the blood
plagues.
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
duplicating. the
Janus and
bloods.
Jambres,
Yeah.
those
Sheesh.
guys.
Okay, well, I think we need to switch gears to another weird story, but this one's gonna go kind
Yeah,
of
that
quick.
was the weirdest.
That was the weirdest. Those were the 10 plagues.
Those are the 10 plagues. my people.
Onward.
Onward. Enter Daniel.
Mm.
You may have heard about Daniel being in the lion's den.
Yes, he
And
was.
if you haven't, you should go ahead and look it up. There's an entire book in the Bible, turns out, about his story, which is also where this comes from. So I will pop right in
AKA
here.
Belteshazzar.
Belteshazzar. Yeah, however you
Yeah.
say it. I forgot what book. I looked this up last time, didn't I? Well, first of all, we recorded
Isn't
this
it in
episode.
So this is what
We recorded this episode previously, and then we had issues. So this is technically a re-record. But the first time, I think I had to look it up. What
And you're doing it
I've
again?
got to do it again.
well, and wasn't that his
Isn't it in
Babylonian
Da-
name?
Well, yeah, Belteshazzar was, which is odd. I've always told everyone I know this. Daniel is in there, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they call them. They just
They
named them
call them the
I don't
Babylonian
understand that. Why?
Because I think maybe to differentiate, maybe it would be, maybe we.
Why
wrap
don't we
them
just
all-
call them the Hebrew names?
because Daniel was like the leader of them.
Well, why not call the other guys their Hebrew names? Why are those so prominent as the Babylonian names?
Maybe because God knew we would remember the story better with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Not Belteshazzar in the lion's den.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You
That's
know?
the end of it. Okay.
Always ready to bring a song.
There's a song in your heart.
I think it's Daniel 2.
I think it is in Daniel.
Well, it is in Daniel. Yep, Daniel 2.
I bet it is in Daniel.
And this is what king are we talking
Nebuchadnezzar.
about? Oh yeah, that guy
Yeah, and
from Babylon.
Yeah.
King Xerxes.
Yeah. Let me just double check so I'm not called
okay.
out to
Well,
be a
Meryl's
liar
looking
here.
at that when we were just
Yeah, what
talking
do you
about
got?
Pharaoh. I was thinking about in the movie Gladiator how awful the prince was when he killed his dad in the movie Gladiator, and then he's just that creepy, awful dude. That's what I think of, like the Pharaoh being like.
Just power hungry.
Yeah.
I want the seat now.
Yeah. And he doesn't care, and then he's just gonna, and he knows that Russell Crowe is like a man of honor, and that his dad is gonna give him the kingdom, and then he just kills his dad so he can have it. Then the sister slaps him in the face, and then she kisses his ring because she knows
there's a number 2 coming out.
Is there?
Yeah.
Probably won't watch it.
You won't?
I don't think so.
Well,
Google and
it's
see what
featuring the child of his sister. He's grown up now.
Okay, we're in Daniel 4.
Okay,
All right,
Daniel 4,
4.
Belteshazzar 4.
Yeah, we're going to fast forward through the story of Daniel, but
That's funny.
Daniel was given a special gift to interpret the dreams, these wild dreams that Nebuchadnezzar was having. And he had his own staff of magicians and sorcerers, astrologers, whatever.
Always with those
he had a
guys.
whole team, and they could not give him a proper interpretation of his dreams, which I find interesting that he was able to like discern that.
Why can't you just make stuff up and go with it?
Because they probably would kill him if you were wrong.
So Daniel had already interpreted correctly a couple of dreams previous to this. So now we are
for old King Nebi.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we'll just start with because he's gonna recap. But I'll just hop into chapter 4:19. And so it says Daniel. Then Daniel, also called Belteshazzar, was greatly perplexed for a time, and his thoughts terrified him.
Dang.
So the king had just told him what his dream was.
Mm.
And so the king says, Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its meaning alarm you. And he answered, My lord, if only the dream applied to your enemies and its meaning to your adversaries. The tree you saw, which grew large and strong, with its top touching the sky, visible to the whole earth, with beautiful leaves and abundant fruit, providing food for all, giving shelter to the wild animals, and having nesting places in its branches for the birds. Your Majesty, you are that tree. You have become great and strong. Your greatness has grown until it reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to distant parts of the earth. Your Majesty saw a holy one, a messenger, come down from heaven and saying, Cut down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump, bound with iron and bronze, in the grass of the field, while its roots remain in the ground. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven. Let him live with the wild animals until 7 times pass by for him. This is the interpretation, Your Majesty, and this is the decree the Most High has issued against my lord the king. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. Therefore, Your Majesty, please be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue.
Okay.
So, and I think when I did research on this earlier, 7 times passes.
What does that mean? 7 years?
7 years.
Okay.
Then we move on to
By the
verse.
way,
Yes, go ahead.
would you have interpreted that?
No.
If somebody gave
No.
you that, like, I dreamed a tree was reaching up, and then
Well,
this guy came down.
But what a cool gift! I
Right.
think would be really cool.
Well, one of the things they told us in Bible school, they're just like, if God gives you a dream, you're gonna know its meaning when you give it. So if you have to like
you
try
mean
to,
your own dream?
yeah, like if God,
Okay.
if you're dreaming and you're like, was that a dream from God? They're like, when God gives you dreams, you know it, and He gives you the meaning of it. If you don't know the meaning of it, let it go.
Oh.
And I just thought that was always kind of like a neat general rule of thumb of if you don't know what it was, or like, and you're trying to figure it out, like, is that, and then it's like, just let it go.
So you'll know the meaning.
You'll know the meaning is
Yeah.
what they always told us.
What about other people's dreams?
Is
that a gift?
I think it would be a gift.
Or is
like
it-
if
You
someone,
helped me kind of interpret.
You know what
one.
I'm saying? Like,
But that
it's
was
not-
something
it's
that
not
I
one of the
felt
gifts of
like-
the Spirit.
I felt like in that moment when you were talking to me, it was almost like think about it this way, that didn't come from me.
Yeah.
Like, so it was
No,
in
I
that
know.
moment of
That's
like,
what I was saying was like, because I don't think, because I was approaching it the wrong, I wasn't, because very baby back into my faith. And so I think that that's also why I was like, but I knew it was significant because I just felt
It was
like,
different.
like it was a different dream. Like, you know,
different
it's
type
different.
of dream.
Yeah.
Like it was so real. It was so vivid and just very specific things. And I was like,
So
And
you
look
know
at
there's
it
some type
now.
of message
yeah.
instead of just dreaming. Oh, I went to the roller skate and broke
Yes.
my leg.
I had
And
a-
I thought one thing. And so I'm like explaining to her and Maria goes,
Well,
that sounds more to me like a promise is being made to you. And I was like, really? And she's
Did that
like, yeah, I'm
confirm?
pretty sure that this is going to be this is a dream of
Like, what's to come.
what's to come. It's a restoration of what's been happening in your life, but it's a restoration.
huh?
And I was like, oh,
Sounds like this dream.
And look now.
I know. Just things are moving and shaking, aren't they?
Uh-huh.
So the dream is fulfilled. Verse 28. Ding dong.
A ding dong.
All this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. Go
All of it.
figure.
Okay.
12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as a royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" Even as the words were on his lips, a voice came from heaven, so interrupted him
Wow.
and said, "This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes." And then immediately,
Wow. Wow. Where have I heard that before?
yeah,
Wow.
immediately,
Fancy hearing that.
12 months later.
yeah. Immediately, what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from his people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. Yuck. Do you know how long that has to get?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Claws of a bird.
At the end of that time, I,
Facts.
Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" At the same time that my sanity was restored, my honor and splendor were returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. My advisors and nobles sought me out, and I was restored to my throne and became even greater than before. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right and all his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble.
Okay.
All of that. Okay. Before
Listen.
you guys make your comments, I'm going to
Listen.
double check to verify that passing 7 times means 7 years.
Okay. So
Also,
I
you
think,
should go over the bonothropy.
I will.
okay. So
Um,
Meryl does some crazy research she's
listen.
going to tell you about. But
Let's- Number one,
Get your
did
thoughts
we have to go set because and I'm just thinking out loud here. If I had a dream, 12 months later, I hear this booming voice saying, you're going to have exactly what I said 12 months ago. You know what I'm saying? And then why didn't you just go ahead and go, you know what? I don't want to go through that. I repent now.
I think it's like our human nature.
I repent now.
It's our pride.
Just kidding. I don't want to go eat grass.
yeah.
Or did he have to go 7 times? Was that like a thing that he just morphed into the ox and was like,
I think it-
7 is often a symbol of completeness or perfection in the Bible. In Hebrew, the word for 7 is shavah, which comes from the
Shavah.
root
Shabbat Shaval.
Shava, meaning to be full. The number 7 may also be associated with the lunar calendar of moon cycles, as the biblical Hebrew word for month is moon.
Moon.
So could have been 7 months.
Could have been 7
not
months. Oh, okay.
7 years.
Well, still,
That's my point. Why didn't he just
Like,
stop?
good Lord, how did it take
Couldn't he have
7
stopped
years?
it then? Because it says he was going to be this way until
He acknowledges.
knowledge,
Well, I
repent
think-
of his. Why didn't he go, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that.
maybe it took that long to get him to
Took the
humble
heart
himself.
change.
Or was it just
Yeah.
immediate? He had no.
Why did the prodigal son?
Did he just go mental?
how
You know what
come-
I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking
Like he
how
lost it.
Yeah.
It ran out there. I don't even know what I'm doing.
it
and
took
then-
that to come to the end of himself.
Yeah.
And I think, even looking makes me think of like the prodigal son, right? He didn't come home until he was like, even there was no pig's food for him.
Right. He's eating the slop.
Like sometimes it takes that hitting.
And you might think this
Rock
is
bottom.
metaphorical, but guess what?
What?
I got some news for you
Do
What's
you?
that?
from the Pharmaceutical Journal.
Breaking
ahead.
news. Breaking news.
The
Meryl's-
PJ. The PJ. It says the author is by Prospector, whoever that is. Okay. But it says, I found this was so interesting that this was in a pharmaceutical journal.
Right.
That is very interesting.
But the title is Nebuchadnezzar and Bone Therapy. And then it says, the little description says, it should be fairly easy to spot a patient suffering from bone therapy. He or she may well be down on all fours chewing grass. Bone therapy is a psychological disorder in which the sufferer believes he or she is a cow or ox.
Got him.
What?
So the article is short. I will just read it.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord, help
But
us.
this person said the most famous sufferer of this condition was King Nebuchadnezzar, who in the book of Daniel was driven from men and did eat grass as oxen.
Right.
Nebuchadnezzar was the king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire from 605 BC to 562 BC. According to the Bible, he conquered Judah and Jerusalem and sent the Jews into exile. He was also credited with building the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was humbled by God for boasting about his achievements, lost his sanity, and lived like an animal for 7 years.
There you-
And that's maybe where I thought it was 7 years. But
Okay.
okay, so there's some conflicting
Yeah.
Well,
opinions
number
on what
seven,
seven times
seven ti-
pass,
yeah.
seven
Right.
passes.
I think
means.
it's 7 years.
I'm sure if
Who's
we
to
went
say?
into like a word study of like
Yeah.
Hebrew, we could figure it out.
Look through
We
it,
need
yeah.
a Hebrew scholar on this show.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anyone
I'm
on
not
speed
one.
dial, so
Don't you know somebody at work?
no,
See-
I don't. Okay, I'm going to continue with this article.
Okay.
Onward.
So it says, when his sanity was later restored, he praised and honored God. Aside from bone therapy, other explanations for his behavior include porphyria, which is a group of enzyme disorders that manifest with neurological symptoms, including hallucinations, depression,
Yeesh.
anxiety, and paranoia, or general paresis or paralytic dementia caused by syphilis.
Throw that siffy in there.
The porphyrias are a group of rare inherited or acquired disorders of certain enzymes that normally participate in the production of porphyrins and HAM,
That's good. Or just ham.
HAEM. So whatever that means.
Production of ham.
They manifest with either neurological complications or skin problems, or occasionally both. The metamorphosis of humans into animals is known as therianthropy, which is the best known form of which is lycanthropy, or the transformation into a
Lichens.
wolf or werewolf.
Oh, wow.
The term synanthropy dates back to ancient Greece as and applied to shapeshifters who alternate between human and dog form. A therianthrope, however, is a being that is part human, part animal. Best known examples are the animal-headed gods of ancient Egypt, such as Bast, that had a head of a cat, or Anubis,
Anubis.
with the head of a jackal. The word combines the Greek therian, wild animal, and anthropos, human being. So
That is very interesting. That is in a pharmaceutical journal.
fascinating.
Right.
That condition.
Lichens?
My gosh.
I just, while you guys were reading that too, I Googled just images of bone therapy.
Oh, no.
Mhm.
And this poor one
do you-
girl is like multiple times used to show.
Is it the girl who was like a dog?
And no, this girl's in a black t-shirt, but then there's the girl that looks like a dog too.
No. Oh,
Now,
wait,
this has
no,
nothing to do with
I
this
saw a
new fad
documentary
where
about a
people
girl.
are acting like cats or,
No.
you know what I'm saying? They're like on leashes and they're
Oh, here's this.
that's not.
But also,
They're just pretending, right?
no, they probably actually do have some mental health
Well,
issues.
I mean, sure, that's going on, but it's not
Yes.
bone therapy.
maybe not.
Here's a drawing that seems maybe more accurate.
Let's see.
It's like an old ancient drawing.
I'll look at it.
Oh, I don't want to. Oh,
I don't know.
no, yeah. I see. I feel like that's accurate though. He's down on all fours, eating grass.
Yeah.
So that makes sense because you mentioned the lose the sanity. That answers my question.
Just
Why
word
didn't he
flip.
repent? He lost sanity, ran out.
Literally lost his mind.
Yeah.
I'm an ox. I'm running out of here because I'm crazy. I'm eating grass. I grew feathers,
God's like, all right, your body can.
and then 7 years later,
find
it
out
says
now.
his sanity came back.
Yeah.
So there was a period of time where he was lost
Yep.
mentally.
Oh
And
yeah.
then he came back and was like, "What is happening here? My gosh,
It makes me wonder
the
when
Lord Jehovah is the King of the universe."
well, it makes me wonder like what happened to his feathers and claws.
I wonder if they had a barber. They just kind of shaved it.
They took him straight to the spa.
Right.
That's what they did.
Like Wizard of
clipped
Oz.
his nails. Yeah.
Gonna pluck this
Oh.
feather-like hair
Wow.
from you.
Or when he
Wax it.
or I also wonder too when he repented, did it all just go away?
Fall off.
And
Well,
he was just everything was returned to
That's
him.
a great question. I would think not.
Great question.
I would think. And did he eat some steak
I bet his
or some
stomach
lamb
couldn't-
chunks,
I wonder
or
if his
did he
stomach
stay on the
couldn't take
grass
it.
diet?
I don't know. These are questions I
King
do want to
Neb-
ask God when we get to heaven.
I'm
someday.
asking Nebby. Wait, is King Nebby there?
We don't know.
Nebs. Got some questions for you, bro. It's guys. There's odd stuff in here.
Yeah.
King Nebs.
Don't worry. There's gonna be part 4 coming. Cause
What?
Yeah,
Yep. Byron.
There's so many.
there's
Here's
so
to
many.
it.
There's so many.
I can't wait to talk about chopped up people sent to the four corners of the earth.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, we gotta find that story. Well,
All right,
stay
guys.
tuned for the next one.
Thanks for listening.
yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye.
Bye.